Yo, welcome back to Beardworks podcast, episode 35, stacked episode this week. We got Mortal Kombat and Resi a bit later. Start off with Mortal Kombat. Scad, you just finished it.
Yeah, mate. So I watched in increments, I guess you could say, because I I only had spare time, bits and pieces throughout this week, and I fell asleep last night when I probably had a bit more time to watch it. I was just so knackered, so I was like, you know what? I'll watch the last 30 minutes in the morning, which I did. And that probably just shows you what kind of film I think it is. I probably think, obviously from the other Mortal Kombat movies, it's a massive upgrade, but number one was obviously awesome.
Yeah.
But Annihilation was terrible.
Yeah, we don't talk about Annihilation.
That doesn't exist. But yeah, the new one, it has some cool new aspects and a new main character, which is kind of cool. But
I don't know. I feel like Mortal Kombat has such a deep history and character pool to pull from. They didn't need Cole. I thought he was like the weakest part of the new movie.
yeah, he just felt misplaced. I don't know. So I'm not a massive Mortal Kombat nut. I don't play every single game. I play them once in a while. I understand the lore, understand the history, so I know bits and pieces, but I'm just not a massive investment when it comes to this kind of genre. Well, I love fighting games, but Mortal Kombat it doesn't peak me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've loved Mortal Kombat since I was a kid. It was like the first video game I ever owned was Deadly Alliance, so I've been hyping it since I was a little kid. The original movie, one of my favorites, had probably one of the best dance songs ever made. But yeah, the new one definitely changes the lore and history quite a bit.
I mean, it brings in some of the characters, and they obviously created a whole new one altogether with Cole. But it showed why he exists and why he's important to the story, obviously because of his lineage. Which was a cool opening. I did enjoy the opening because it's like very, because when people think of Mortal Kombat, what do you think of?
Scorpion, Sub-Zero.
Exactly. So to see them start off with that, which was really good, shows like these are the two biggest characters we have on our roster. Obviously, it didn't show them in their full get-ups and stuff like that, but it showed them obviously back in the 1700s, I think it was, maybe a bit further. I don't know.
Yeah, it's old.
But either way, it was awesome. That little fight scene. The action in that part was quite good as well. But this is the one gripe I had throughout the entire film is that if you're going to be a martial arts film, you have to have really good martial arts.
The fights were very hit and miss.
Yep, definitely agree there. Like, it's just some parts were good, some parts were bad, and we can't expect someone like Jax, who's like a bit of a brawler, a boxer kind of thing, more to have like these crazy moves. But it's just so lackluster, some of the fights, and the shots were too close. If you understand what I mean, like they didn't show you the full.
It's cut. It's cut in a way like super close shots and a lot of jumping around. It's because the fights probably looked rat shit in wide.
It's so disappointing because I mean, as we get older, we pick up on things a lot easier, and we know what we enjoy, and we understand that things could be done differently to make it look better. And it doesn't take a genius to do that kind of stuff. I watched a lot of Corridor Digital, and I know you watched a bit of it too. And when they do Stuntman Reacts or any of the reaction videos, they actually pick apart fight scenes and stuff like that, which is really cool because it shows this is why the shot should be that way, and this is why it should be that way, yada yada yada. And they actually talk about doing these close up things. One of the biggest ones in history is the Bourne Ultimatum, and there's a fight scene where the camera's focusing on just the wrong body part, like when they're fighting. It doesn't make any sense. So this is very similar to this, is that there's some scenes and there was some cuts where they were just showing bits and pieces that were just so close you didn't understand what they were.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't think all of the cast were martial artists. Like a good comparison I was thinking of is how good are the fights in Ninja Assassin?
Yeah, acrobatic.
And the Raid.
Yeah.
Because these are actual martial artists going at it. Like they don't really have any editing and cutting in that. It's just literally a wide shot and you see everything. And they work so much better. They should have got people that can actually fight to do some of this stuff.
Get some really good stunt doubles. But
yeah,
I definitely agree. Like, that's the one thing I had is like, I kept thinking, I'm going into this movie thinking to myself, it's Mortal Kombat, okay? It is literally the pinnacle of martial arts video games kind of thing. Obviously, they use weapons as well, so it's not always hand-to-hand combat. But they should have be able to get their martial arts right. If they got this right, the movie would be 10 times better. And those wide shots, it's a classic and it's not even great martial arts, is like some of the Daredevil scenes from the Netflix's, Disney's, Marvel's Daredevil.
That's how you do a brawler properly, is that.
Yeah, like you have a bit of a long shot, but the thing is, like, that's what happens when you're not working with experienced people, is that you can't do long takes because it just finishes like there has to be many cuts, and which it takes you out of the immersion, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, the fights are a bit average. The story is probably better than the fights. I feel like they skip so much in Mortal Kombat that no one is ever going to understand.
Yeah. So obviously, like I was saying, someone myself, I could understand bits and pieces. I can understand where it's going, but someone that's completely has no idea what's going on goes into this. What happens? You know what I mean?
Like people in this love Sub Zero. Do they all know that he's dead or he's Noob Saibot now? So the next one is everyone going to not know who that is?
Yeah.
Like Scorpion, do people not know that he's a bad person still?
Yeah.
Scorpion's not a good guy.
No, he's and for him to rock up right up at the end, it was just so. I mean, I understand why because like that's the pinnacle. Those two fighting is the pinnacle of Mortal Kombat. So I understand it was going to happen eventually, but like Cole was like the big hero, and all of a sudden he's just been pushed to the side for the final battle.
Yeah, I feel like they skipped Scorpion's origin as well. They didn't show all the stuff in Hell because he didn't. You hear him say that line, "Oh, instead of burning in Hell's fire, I learned to control it."
Yeah,
It's not how it happened. You got your powers from Quan Chi. Everyone knows that.
yeah, no, it's they're just chopping and changing to make it a bit more viewer friendly. And this is what the thing is. I think they sort of made it in mind thinking that there would be no sequel. You know,
Yeah,
and obviously it still builds up for one. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's a lot of good actors in this movie. Like there's some really well class A actors, but it just doesn't work. Like I love I forget the Australian actor. I'm not sure if it's Josh Lawson. I don't know.
they didn't realize Kano was going to be the best character. They're regretting killing him off. They're going to bring him back.
He was such a good character, and that's but then it comes down to his fight scenes as well. They're so average, like
Yeah,
because he's so clunky. Like I'm not Kano. Obviously, in the game is not the most fluent fighter, but he's
he's
still a
still got
fighter.
moves.
Yeah, and so the whole laser eye was kind of cool, I guess, when they had to like work out their abilities and stuff like that.
See, I thought that was the weirdest thing about this whole entire movie was how they had to earn their powers. Like,
Like Jax, like he lost his arms. That makes like that's more like a fatality that you'd see. He gets his arms destroyed and stuff like that. He gets knocked off a thing. Nothing else happens. But then he comes back and they give him mechanical arms, and then his power is that his mechanical arms just get an upgrade.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. And
Like
then Sonya just magically knows hers.
yeah, she comes in and just blows a hole in. I forget who it was. It was a Cabal.
And
I
no,
don't know.
Melina.
Oh, that's right.
But like, do people not understand that Melina is a clone of Katana? So is that what Katana looks like?
There's just so much thrown in there just to make it work. What they could have done is done a better build up. And
This feels like a second or a third movie. No one knows any of these people.
yeah, like when they say, "Oh, I'm Sonya Blade," I'm Jax, Jack Breeze, that's cool. I understand that. We understand that because we played the video games. But people that haven't seen it are just going to go in and watch this. But in saying that, it's probably only diehard fans, the only diehard fans that will actually go in and watch this. So yeah, it's just a funny film. It feels like it's just all mixed together to try and make it work. Try to get as much screen time for some of the characters and then less for others. And
It feels like three films cut together, and you don't know which is which.
what's with Cole's special powers? He gets like
Uh,
a suit, but the thing is, it looks so funny because it stops at his neck. Like,
yeah, what if he gets hit in the head? He's dead.
and he's got like well, forget those fighting sticks. Well, not that fighting
Well,
sticks,
that
but
don't make sense either. He is Hanzo Hasashi legacy. His power should have been fire. Like, how could it not be fire?
yeah. Obviously, when he gets hit, it's got something to do with like the armor that gets
Or you
hit,
mean
like
Black
generates power.
Panther's suit, where he can
Yeah,
just discharge the energy back?
yeah. I don't know, but either way, they did stuff so well, but then they did other things that just like lackluster. Like even the confrontation at the training grounds, like prior to when they get attacked, the first time Sub Zero rocks up, and then Raiden just puts down a force field, and they're like, "All right, guys, let's get back to work and start training."
Yeah.
I was like,
They wasted Kung Lao. He was probably one of the coolest fighters in the movie.
and then he just gets soul sucked from him. But his fatality was pretty cool when he killed
Very like the game.
yeah.
I feel like all the characters that, well, major spoilers, all the characters that die or are just thrown away are all the best ones. Kano, Cabal, Kung Lao.
Yeah, Kung Lao, he's such a good character. I completely agree with that. Like his fight scenes were good. The hat is like awesome. Like just launching it around. And Kano's wittiness and like his very Australian accent, obviously, it makes a good viewing, good listening because like he's saying like how we would sort of talk in Australia.
They embrace, in this movie, they try to go too serious with everything. Mortal Kombat, the games, and the original movie, they're all goofy. They're wacko.
Yeah,
They need to just go hard on that. That's why Kano and Kung Lao were so cool because, well, he's got like the chainsaw hat. Kano's just swearing, saying "lick his nuts" to Kung Lao. Like,
There's just so many good things about it, and then there's so many negatives. And
I think it's a good movie. I'm just picking it apart because we're chatting.
well, that's the thing is I sat back and watched it, not as a Mortal Kombat fan, but just as a guy watching a film, and I just wanted to see some good martial arts, and unfortunately, there just wasn't enough. And that's what I'm saying. If you're building a film like Mortal Kombat up, you need to have good martial arts fights. Like, it needs to be epic fights, and it, like, obviously the best fights happen normally in movies like the Raid Redemption, where it's one guy versing like 4 or 5 because they can just get thrown. They can have red shirts or red coats, what we call them in anime, is that they're just there to die, you know. And you can't really do that in a Mortal Kombat movie because there's only two big figures going at each other, and then just like a bit of a fight, and then a massive fatality at the end. Like Jax versus I forget that guy's name with the big hammer.
Raiko or
Yeah,
Reiko.
just like crushes his head. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but their fight was so bleh,
What
you
do you
know.
mean fight? They like 2 punches each and then fatality.
So, so who did Sonya fight? Like,
She
oh,
fought Melina, and
and
then
Kano.
Melina's like, "Oh, you don't even have any powers. Your death means nothing."
Yeah, and then she fights Kano and just tricks him and beats him. I literally fell asleep in that fight. That's how bored I was. But then she got the marking, obviously, and got her powers, and she comes back and annihilates. Was it Melina? No. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
overall, as a film, it's better than what people were probably expected. But I guess when I think that you should get the martial arts perfect, well, not
In a
perfect.
movie about the best fighters of each realm in a
Yeah.
tournament, and we
Well,
didn't even get a tournament in this.
no. So obviously, when it's coming down to that it has to be better combat. It has to be better fights. Only because the fights that we saw were cut funny. They didn't show full widescreen. And I'm not saying they have to be widescreen. It's just they've got so much knowledge from other films that they can make it. They could literally just take bits and pieces and don't have to copy it, but they can just like, yeah, this is what we'll do. Like, you know, the Raid Redemption, obviously we've already spoken about, has some great fight scenes. Daredevil, even Punisher, like, you know, these have been directed really well. And I'm not slagging on the director for this film, but it could have been better when you're like saying, when you're working with a movie that's all about Mortal Kombat, or about combat, I should say. The martial arts should be top tier. It should be the best.
But look at the fights in the Mortal Kombat like CGI trailers. That's the way you do a Mortal Kombat fight. It's up close, but then there's also the big shots where they're like doing flying moves and crazy
Yeah,
shit.
it's just about the angles and getting the right people to play the right characters and not.
Oh, speaking of right characters, Shang Tsung and Raiden might have not well been in the movie. How
Yeah,
shit were they?
yeah, they're very blur as well.
Christopher Lambert and the Chinese guy from the original, they were good. They had memorable voices. They felt threatening on screen. In this movie, just generic, mate. Shang Tsung, was he like a Chinese transvestite? Like, what was he doing? Just look, see his hair and shit. He looked weird.
Yeah, there's just so many things that, like I said, they did right and then they just didn't do good. And so, unfortunately, this film for me, it's just another throwaway film. It feels to me like the gore was really good because that's totally Mortal Kombat,
Yep.
and some of the characters were there, some of the backstory was there, but it wasn't a clean moving film. Like, there was like little arcs in between, and that was about it, really.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely have missed a lot, and they're going to have to backtrack in the next one.
Yeah. Anyways, so finishing up with Mortal Kombat, one of the biggest games that's going to release of this year, and one of Nick's favorites,
Probably my most anticipated for this year.
came out last Friday. So I put down Returnal for a little while, even though I've enjoyed that so far, and the combat and that's fun and fast paced. I've picked up something a little bit slower, a bit more in the horror genre, and funny enough, Nick's actually completed it as of yesterday. I'm
'Cause
still a
I'm the
little bit more
best.
to go. Nick just smashed it out. I'm still a little bit behind yet. I'm not too far behind him. But we're going to talk about it now without revealing any spoilers, because we're going to do a full spoiler review in our next episode, or the one after, probably the next one, so it's fresh
Yep.
in our minds. So first off, Resident Evil Village, or Resident Evil 8 Village, takes place after Biohazard, or Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, direct sequel.
Direct sequel, following the same character, but a few years after, which is kind of cool. So we've seen this in the trailers. So we lose our wife that we fought so hard for to save in the last game pretty
Yep.
quickly. It's funny though, she took a lot of shots. Like the first one,
Oh, yeah.
straight through, and she just starts bleeding, looking down at it.
Alpha Team does not mess around.
All of a sudden, there's bullets flying everywhere, and Ethan doesn't take a bullet, does not take one.
It's like, it reminded me of that scene in X-Men Origin Wolverine where he's with the old couple, and then
Yeah.
that dude's sniping at him, and then bullets just start peppering everywhere.
And so we see that Mia gets absolutely annihilated, but somehow still breathing when Chris walks in. And then you're sort of like asking what the hell's going on here. Because for people that are listening right now, we're not going to spoil it any more than we'll just do a little bit of the first probably hour of the game.
Yeah,
But
because you've seen the first like part of the game
majority
in
of
the
it,
demos
yeah.
and shit.
And so Chris rocks up Redfield, who we've known from a lot of the movies and a lot of the games, like recurring character, one of the better characters, just headshots Mia, just
Yep,
puts her out of her misery, just bang. And he's like, "Thanks, Ethan. I'm taking your daughter."
yep, on your bike, dog.
And
Then
that's
it
what
cut, and then it
kicks off.
cuts. You wake up, you be like taken by Alpha Team, and your car's been attacked, and then you're out in the snow. That's it. You got to find the village.
And it kicks off straight away. When you fall out, you're like, okay, this is very reminiscent of the last Biohazard game, or say a Resident Evil game, where it's a bit more of a scary kind of vibe, the horror kind of thing, and you're walking through this snowy, like you're not. It's out in somewhere, out in the backwood or somewhere,
It's
and
Romania, isn't it? This one.
it feels like it's somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, you're just hearing this growling and these things running past, and you actually pick a glimpse of it, and you're like, okay, is that a werewolf? Obviously in this game they're called something different. Obviously the same thing, it's just a different name for it.
Yep.
And
To,
pretty quickly
to
you find
describe the
out.
intro of this game, it's like the start of Resident Evil 4 where you're going up the forest to the village, but imagine that with Van Helsing.
Yeah, it's pretty much it, isn't it? Really, like when you think about it, it's a typical horror movie, really.
Yep.
Like you're rocking up to this place and things have just gone to absolute shit straight away.
Yeah, like this, like the first game, or not first game, 7 Biohazard, very slow burn at the start. You get the odd spook here and there, but nothing happens for like a while. In this one, you got like 2 minutes in the house at the start, then boom, you're in the thick of it.
Pretty much like I'm going to be honest with our listeners, I have not finished Biohazard like Resident Evil 7 because I just found it too slow paced. The action was okay, but you weren't given enough, I feel like, to attack the monsters with. Um, which is fine. That's the type of game it is. I feel like with this one they've actually upgraded the action in saying that you still got slow movement, but in saying you've got different weapons you can use. It's a vast array of combat.
There's more at your disposal for sure.
And so, walking into this village, you're trying to work out what's going on. So the first, 15 minutes of walking around, you don't really see or hear. You hear things, but you don't see anything really. And then shit hits the fan. Like, obviously the town's already screwed and you're just finding bodies and stuff like that. And then you're hearing these radio saying that get to this place, it's safe. And yeah, you find these enemies that I thought at the time was just like one of those like timed events that you just sort of to hold out. But no, they just keep coming and coming and coming and coming until
Yeah,
you get knocked over and lose half all your health pretty much.
yeah. That intro, like cinematic interactive sequence, like it's just a flood. It's like World War Z full of lichens. You just get ambushed.
It's such a cool feeling though, because I was sitting there thinking to myself, got to keep fighting, got to survive. And I was just running and shooting, finding whatever I could, whatever ammo and stuff like that. And eventually it's just like, yeah, you're done. Like you get picked up by the big guy. And yeah, get thrown to the ground, and that's where it kicks off, and then that carries on from there. So we won't go any further than that because that would be more spoiler territory. Even though we've seen the castle and sort of vampire kind of characters and stuff like that, we'll get back into that when we're talking about the next episode. But Nick, you finished the game, and your thoughts on the game so far, or obviously have finished now. What are your thoughts on it?
It was like a 7 as I was 7, 8 going through it. The last like hour, 10 out of 10. Makes the whole game 10.
Yep.
Word of warning though to people playing it: read every single note you can.
Yeah.
They will explain so much and connect so many dots. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot. That there are the notes that you find throughout the map and throughout the progression of the story is that there's a lot of backstory to this village that you've been in, and there's so much more to the characters that you've actually faced or you fought and stuff like that. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And obviously, you've finished the game, so telling me that, I'll make sure I read everything from here on out again.
Stay off my Twitter because I shared some screenshots from PS5 you don't want to see.
But like me coming into this, not playing the last game, knowing the story of the last game and the characters and stuff like that, I was a bit skeptical coming into this. I was like, okay, what's going to be? And so far, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's a really good game. The atmosphere is amazing. In saying that, me and you are very similar with we love the Van Helsing feeling. We love that kind of dark, gothic kind of feeling.
It's very, very gothic. Like not like cringe, like chicks with dyed black hair and wallet chains, like proper gothic, bloodborne gothic.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the one thing I picked up from the very start was the zombies. There's no zombies. What I'm talking about the enemies that you face aren't your traditional biohazard zombies, or I shouldn't say, I'll take zombies straight out of it. Biohazard enemies. Um, Obviously over the course of the games you face different ones, and they're all good and stuff like that. But this has a very each area has its specific kind of enemies. Um, and that's what's cool about it is that it doesn't it's you got the same kind of enemies as in the kind of attack patterns, but they were individually different in their different areas.
Yeah, it's very traditional Resi how each because every Resi game is always broken into like each boss has their own kind of area. This just follows the same suit, but yeah, each area is very unique and all the enemies are very unique.
Yeah, and so far the boss fights have been really good and really fun. Action's been good. But I'm just really interested to see how and where this time. Like, obviously, I don't need to spoil anything, but does it sort of like give you like a little inkling where this plays in the overall story of Resident Evil?
This lets you know why a lot of shit is in the universe. The
Right.
ending is this crazy because
Yeah.
you know the Resi universe like Umbrella, all the T virus, all that shit.
Mm.
Yeah, you know the first game set in the Spencer Mansion.
Yeah.
Yep, because you know the CEO, the founder of Umbrella was whatever her name was, Spencer. Her last name
Yeah.
is Spencer. Yeah, yeah. Remember that?
Yeah. No, I know enough about Resident Evil. I've watched pretty much every single film, but the films aren't the greatest tie-ins to that overall story.
No.
It's just all about hi, my name is Alice.
Yep.
Whereas you get so much cool story with the other characters. Like I've always loved Leon. I think he's obviously a fan favorite. Chris, I think is a crazy character too. Claire Redfield, Jill Valentine, and and Wesker. Like these characters, obviously the main ones of the overarching story. And there's so many other smaller guys that have been throughout the entire game. But I honestly think that Ethan Winters is a really cool character.
Oh, he's a
Like,
wicked addition, man. Chris, Leon, and Ethan are probably my top three at the moment. Jules, she's pretty good. She's a bit of a sook sometimes, but like you can't really take the Resi
and
three. Like even that new remake can't really take it for what it was. The original apparently is a lot better. I didn't play the original. I've only played the remake, but
it's like Carlos is a good character. I enjoy him,
yeah.
especially in the movie as well. But yeah, I'm just really interested to see where this like eventually ties in. I mean, it will obviously be explained, and then you know this already. I'm really keen to see what the outcome is and where it fits in, and like because obviously we are going to get a Resident Evil 4 remake shortly
That'll be next, and then it'll be because
at 9.
apparently the Ethan Winters games are a trilogy.
So there's one more to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously we'll get remake, and then it'll be Resident Evil 9, which will be the conclusion of Ethan Winters, obviously. Um, but yeah, I'm just really keen to see what they do next. Obviously, there's the new film coming out, the reboot kind of thing in the Spencer Mansion.
Oh, those set photos literally look like the game come to life.
So that's going to be really interesting to see if they take it more to its roots and not so much like what we've seen in the films recently. I didn't mind the first Resident Evil movie though; it wasn't too bad. It's
Oh, the
just
first three, like the trilogy, is good.
yeah, but like Alice, I just don't understand
Oh,
Alice too much.
every 2 minutes, my name is Alice.
um, but yeah, now all so far so good. The game is really awesome. I'm really enjoying it. And
Oh,
then like
it's the best game this year so far.
yeah, definitely. Well, at the moment, there's not too much to compare it against. Obviously, Returnal is it's like a roguelike game, so it's really hard to compare the story. Obviously, the combat's very straightforward. Well, not straightforward. The combat in Returnal is really good fun. It's like fast paced, dodging and stuff like that, and shooting. I really enjoy that. But I would say the atmosphere and the build up and the tension in Resident Evil Village, and obviously each area has its own kind of horror theme, which is really awesome too.
That
Which
one section you just did, we won't spoil it for anyone, but you can 100% see the influence is PT Silent Hill.
yeah, definitely, it's definitely like that kind of feeling of like you're just going around in circles for a while.
Fuck, this hallway is just the worst thing I've ever experienced. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, obviously when it comes to Resident Evil, we've got the Netflix show, which I think we've already mentioned before, Infinite Darkness.
Yeah, that'll be lit.
So that's an animated one with Leon in it. So that would be cool to see where they go with that. It'd be really cool if they introduce some new characters. I don't mind the animated movies. I think they're really cool. All of the ones I've seen so far have been a great joy to watch. Very
I,
like Final Fantasy inspired.
I reckon this Resi game, Newborn Village, it'd be one of the best graphics on PS5. That and Demon Souls.
Yeah, and the lighting graphics, like especially in the caves, is immaculate.
Oh, all the ray tracing's kicking off, man.
And that's what's so good about when it comes to those kind of areas. It's more the open areas that sort of they lose their quality when you got so much going on, like foliage and stuff like that. But when you go into the caves with lights, that's what looks awesome.
Oh, when shit is wet and lights reflecting, oh, silk.
And of course, it wouldn't be a Resident Evil game if it didn't have some crazy noises going on, and you think there's someone right behind you the entire time.
Oh, mate, you got lichens breathing down your neck. You got just fuck mutants everywhere.
The amount of times I'm sitting there walking around, I think I hear something like breaking, like in the next room, and you go in, there's nothing there. You're like, oh,
And you just hear like windmills creak and floorboards go and doors and oh, there's always something around you that you never see. It's creepy. It's good though.
oh, 100%. So, I mean, what is the rank on your overall games for you?
Just Resi or forever?
Just the Resi games.
Oh, this is like top 3. I reckon like Resi 2, 4, and this one are the best.
And do you prefer the first or third person?
I feel like 2, like the Leon games 2 and 4, they couldn't be first person. The shit you do in that and the way Leon is, the kicks and all that has to be third person. But I feel like Ethan's story is told perfectly in first.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The storytelling through first person in regards to these two games has been so good. I mean, like I said, I've played like half the first game and then I watched the rest of it. I just couldn't get into it. So,
but you know, like Leon, all the kicks and acrobatics he does, you couldn't do that first person. It'd be like Mirror's Edge. You'd be sick.
yeah, true. No,
Yeah.
but yeah. So overall, obviously, we'll do a massive spoiler talk in the next game. Talk about the boss fights, where the characters go, the story, stuff like that. We'll do that in the next episode. We've also got coming up. We need to watch more of the Bad Batch because they released a double. You know, they did the premiere plus the Friday episode, which we weren't expecting. So that was good.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll probably have Resi down the pipeline, and then after that, we'll just be mixed bag, Bad Batch, whatever we're doing.
Yeah, well, this what we got coming. I mean, I haven't told you this yet, but I recently finished. I just watched the Third Heavens film movie.
Oh, there you go.
Pap had it on his downloads, so that was in sub though, unfortunately.
Yuck
for you.
So it's not out yet.
No. So I watched that, and that wasn't a bad conclusion to the trilogy. I've watched the Demon Slayer movie, which you'll watch eventually, and
yeah, I'm keen for that.
That's bloody awesome. Like absolutely, like on the hype train again of Demon Slayer, because obviously I've read more of the manga into the future, and so I know what happens, and it gets like brutal as hell, and like all and crazy battles. So
you got to read High Republic as well.
Yes, I need to get into that. I've been.
There's only a few issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't read the God of War comic. I'm like the third issue came out last week. It is absolute rat shit.
Just the drawings are terrible,
and the story sucks. This is meant to be bridging the gap between God of War 3 and the newest one.
Yeah.
I could have made up a better story doing a shit on the toilet. Like, it's rubbish, man.
Oh, well, we got plenty of content coming up shortly. We got, Black Widow coming out in July, I think.
Yeah, that'll be a big one.
That'll be a good talking point. And then we've got Loki coming out next month, do we? I think so. I think Loki's not too far away. So there's lots of content around. Video games wise, there's not too much. I don't think we'll talk too much about Ratchet and Clank because
we've got Mass Effect this Friday, but I'll probably be the only one playing that.
I'm going to get it eventually. It's just right now, with Resident Evil and Returnal, I'm going to get those two done. And I've played the Mass Effect trilogy over a couple of times now, back and forth. I would love to get in and play number 2 because I think number 2 had the best overhaul. Number 1 had the best overhaul, but number 2 had the best combat I found.
Apparently they've taken bits and pieces from all 3 combat systems from all 3 games, and they've made like the one perfect system in this one.
I heard that that they integrated like the second and third games into the first game with combat, so it's a bit more fluidity.
That's good because the first game was jank.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But Mass Effect is a great trilogy. Like,
if people don't have time to play 3 games, watch a lore video on Mass Effect. You won't get a better sci-fi story other than Star Wars. Yeah. Like, Mass Effect's up there.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. But yeah, obviously we've got other things coming up, which I can't think off the top of my head right now. Anime is obviously taking off like crazy. You need to watch Attack on Titan season 4.
Yeah. I've just been hammering comics, man. I've read thousands of shit recently, thousands of pages.
My Hero's kicking off at the moment.
Fly.
It's not the greatest start to the season, but I know it gets better. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that wraps up our episode. We don't need to drag on anymore. So just do the same. Follow us on our socials. We've really enjoyed you guys tuning in. Nick, any final words?
Deuces.
Take care, guys. Cheers.